Hello, my name is Fred Valles. I'm one of the founders here at Optmyzr. Thank you for joining us to take a look at how to use enhanced scripts, which are part of the tool suite that we offer. So this is going to be a live demo, so we're just going to jump right into it, and we're going to take a look at a few things. So my goal for the session today is to show you where you can access enhanced scripts from Optmyzr, explain a little bit how these things work, how to install them, and that includes how to install them in AdWords, how to run it, and how to make sure that they are running correctly. I will show you some of the favorite scripts that we have to do with budgets, checking landing pages. We'll go through those. And then I'm also going to save some time to show you one of our more advanced scripts, which is the create ads from Spreadsheet, where you can basically take a spreadsheet of inventory data or a location data and then automatically turn that into a campaign with different ad groups, ad texts, and keywords based on a template that you've defined. So with that, let's jump right into it. So I am going to share my screen, and you will see Optmyzr here in just 1 second. So here we go. Okay, so here's the Optmyzr tool. Okay, so obviously you will want to log in. You will then navigate to the scripting section. So here I've already opened up one of my original test accounts, gone over to the scripts tab. Now on the scripts tab, we do have a couple of places. If you have never used a script before, you will see your scripts, all of the available ones right here in this first tab. If you have already configured some scripts, you'll find them here. So you'll see in the Optmyzr account, we got quite a few that are already set up, and I can do a filter on this. I can say, just show me in which accounts I've done the reach target monthly spend methodology, for example. And then if you've started running scripts, you will also be getting some logs out from our system. So you can go to the all log section, and just like with the other tab here, you can also filter that down just to see the data that actually matters to you. But for most of the people on this call today, we probably don't have that many scripts set up. So the most useful place to start is going to be the all scripts tab. We've added a couple of categories here, so you can just jump to the category that makes the most sense to you. But at a high level, we have some reporting scripts. So reporting scripts, these are mostly about taking some data and either emailing you a snippet of information. So that would be something like the Lin-Rodnitsky ratio. What is the Lin-Rodnitsky ratio? This is basically a metric that the founders of 3Q Digital came up with to say how closely, how well an account is managed. Whether you believe in that ratio or not, some people do. So, and it can be quite useful to see the progression of account management. So this is just going to simply email you that ratio number on a frequent basis. You have other reports like the ad template report. The purpose of this one is to take a look across your whole Google Ads account and tell you what are the stats wherever you use the same headline or the same description or the same path, right? So instead of just getting data for one ad group at a time, it's looking across larger portions of the account and saying, oh, when you use the headline, buy t-shirts here, then this is your conversion rate. And so that can help inform new ad experiments that you do. These types of reports will generate a Google spreadsheet. Okay, so but sort of at a higher level, maybe I should say first, the reason that these scripts are useful and the reason that we have them in Optmyzr is that these are things you can automate up to once per hour through AdWords. And so even though you can do automation in other portions of Optmyzr, like you can have a scheduled report that automatically gets sent, which you'll find here, or you can have rule engine things that automatically run for you, or you can have shopping campaigns automatically regenerate. These are automations that we tend to do maybe on a daily basis, so not quite as frequently. So whereas AdWords Scripts, we're able to leverage the Google infrastructure. And so Google is now responsible for running these reports on an hourly basis. And that hourly capability can be really useful for stuff like bids and budgets, right? So a lot of people have limited monthly budgets that their clients have. So we have a flexible budget script. This flexible budget script allows you to say, what is your budget that you're trying to reach? If that budget becomes exceeded, then you could automatically go ahead and pause the active campaigns. And now this is kind of cool because in AdWords, Google Ads, they think about campaign level daily budgets. but your client or your boss probably doesn't think in terms of campaign level daily budgets. They probably think in terms of account level monthly budgets. And that's exactly what this sort of a script will enable you to do. It's going to aggregate up all the spend across all of your campaigns. It's going to look at the monthly spend as opposed to the daily spend, and it's going to help you enforce a monthly budget on top of everything, which is independent from the way that Google is doing the campaign level daily budgets. So obviously, if you want to check that your budgets are not being exceeded, it makes a ton of sense to check once an hour or as frequently as possible, right? So as opposed to having an automation that only runs once per day, which you could do through something like an automated rule in Google AdWords, here you can come in and you can run a script from us that checks it on an hourly basis. So you have 24 more chances every day to pause something when it starts spending too much, as opposed to hoping that you catch it just at one time of the day when another automation is running. Okay, so that's where you find these scripts, right? You can go through all of these enhanced scripts. We've given small descriptions here for what each of these scripts do. Now, some of my favorites, before I show you exactly how to install these, the ad template report, I already mentioned that one. So that aggregates stats when you're using the same components of ad text across the account. I really like that one. The other ones, the Anomaly Detector is super useful. So the Anomaly Detector will basically say, okay, let's take a look. Right now it is Thursday. It is about 9 o'clock in the morning in California. So on a typical Thursday around 9 o'clock, how many clicks, how much cost, how many impressions do we expect? And if we deviate from that by some significant amount, then send me an email. Okay, and it does that every single hour. So a couple of hours from now, it's going to say, hey, it's Thursday, it's noon. What are we expecting on a typical Thursday by noon? And again, it does that analysis. It does that 24 times a day. And so the moment that something starts going a little bit sideways, it can actually email you and say, hey, Fred, it might be time to take a look at this account because there's something unusual happening. Maybe the cost is higher than expected. Maybe the impressions are lower than expected. And maybe I go in and I figure out that the credit card has declined. Okay, that I need to go and fix something like that. Or I might figure out that we just added a display campaign, and that's why the impressions are shooting up because maybe there's a news event happening, and all of a sudden I'm getting all of these other impressions that maybe I didn't want to get. So really good way to stay on top of anomalies. Really popular too, checking destination URLs and checking that site link URLs are not broken. So these will check for 404 errors. And that's pretty standard, but they can also check for a specific piece of text. So generally people would run this one once a day, and it would say, take every URL that I'm using in my account and make sure that they are not broken, but also make sure that the text on the page does not say something to the effect of out of inventory, low stock, because if that happens, maybe that's just as bad as having a 404 error. Okay, so I'll show you in a second how to set that one up, but that one's really popular. Creating ads from Spreadsheet, so we'll obviously talk about that one, but that is basically automating campaigns from structured data that you have, so that's super useful. I quite like generate text ad bulk sheets. It's one of our more complex scripts to figure out, but this one is really good for running seasonal ads. So for example, if we have back to school coming up here in a couple of weeks, you might want to run some special ads around the back to school promotions that you have. But what you can do with this script is you can say, look at last year's back to school ads, figure out which ones of the ones that I was running were performing the best, and put all of those in a Google spreadsheet. And now I can go into that spreadsheet and I can change the year. So I can say, okay, it's no longer 2017, it's now 2018. So I do a find and replace, but I'm only doing it for the best ones from last year. And then maybe I'm making a few other tweaks, and then I can upload this back through the AdWords editor. And so I can quickly revamp my account based on promotions we're doing, based on seasonal offers that we see, that kind of thing. And then super popular, probably the most popular within Optmyzr are the budget scripts. So the flexible budgets, this is the one that I just mentioned to make sure you do not spend more than an account level monthly budget. That's the typical use case. Now, other use cases this actually enables is you could literally run a keyword level monthly budget, or you could run a keyword level weekly budget. And that can be nice because sometimes if you put in a new keyword that has potentially a high amount of cost that it's going to spend, and you put it inside of an existing campaign, it is conceivable that that new keyword starts hijacking some of the budget from that campaign historically, right? So that campaign was running at a level that you know it's very predictable. Now you put in a new keyword and it's a more generic keyword, and all of a sudden most of the budget goes towards that. And maybe it doesn't do so well, right? So all of a sudden you're losing a lot of these conversions that you typically would have expected to come out of the campaign because you put in some new keywords that you were experimenting with. So what a lot of people do is they put new keywords, new experiments in a separate campaign. They try to prove it out, and once it works, then they move it back into the main campaign. But that's kind of a pain because now you're splitting your stats, right? When you move a keyword from one campaign to another campaign, the stats they're not lost, but they're basically reset. You have to go to the other campaign to see what the stats were. Now here, what you could do is you could literally say, I'm putting these new keywords, these new experiments, these new ad texts inside of an existing campaign, but I do want to be cautious, so I'm actually going to limit their budget. So I'm going to say I have a keyword level budget, or I have an ad text level budget. And that's why we call it flexible budgets, because it enables you to put budgets on things that AdWords doesn't really let you put budgets on. And the way that we, of course, do the budgets is we check once per hour to make sure you haven't spent too much. And if you have, then we automatically pause it. And by the way, we can automatically re-enable those things that we paused at the start of the next budget period. So the script is smart enough to know on the first day of the next month, bring back anything we had paused because it had exceeded the monthly budget. Because on the first day of the month, that's a new month, that's a new budget start, right? So that's how that works. We also have these hourly campaign level day parts. Keep in mind, in Google AdWords, you can only have 6 day parts set up per campaign. Now, if you want to do hourly level day part bid adjustments, that's not good enough. You need 24 settings for that. This script takes advantage of the fact that you can run a script once per hour. So it just says, for this hour, I'm going to set the budgets for the next 4 hours. And then the next hour, I'm going to do it again. So it's constantly pushing the next 4 day parts. And so long as the script keeps running on an hourly basis, it ensures that you have different campaign level bid adjustments for every single hour of the day. So that's what that does. And then a couple of these alpha scripts that you see in here. So these are scripts that I might still be working on. So you may not see those in your account, but you can ask me, send me an email, or send my support team an email, and we can give you access. Okay, so that's where we can find scripts. I've shown you the popular scripts. The next thing I promised I would show was how to install a script. So let's grab one and let's go do that. So let's go into the ad template report. Okay, so here I already have some configured scripts, so I have to go into that specific one. For many of you, you would likely just come to a page like this one, where it would just have a big button that says, you haven't set this up yet, click here to add a new setting. Okay, so I'm going to make a new setting from scratch. If you were already using the script in different portions of your Optmyzr account, you can also go ahead and copy those same settings over. If you copy the settings, you're actually making a new copy of it. You're just starting with the same settings the other place had. I will show that to you in a second, but let's make a new setting. Okay, so rather than the typical way of dealing with scripts that you might be used to, which is I go to search engine land, I go to free AdWords scripts, I go to some other website that has free scripts, and I copy and paste a bunch of JavaScript code, and then I'm asked to go into the code and make modifications. Here we've put all the modifications into a form-based UI. Okay, so rather than having to figure out what line in the JavaScript to go to specify what spreadsheet I want to use, you just put the spreadsheet URL right here, or you use some of the default settings that we have. So demo by Fred is what we're going to call this one, and I can't spell today, so let's fix that right there. Instead of having to know the special date range nomenclature that Google Ads uses, I can just simply use whatever's in here from a dropdown. So very easy to use. Now, if you don't know what we're asking you here, so campaign name includes, what am I supposed to put in here? Hover over the question mark, and it's going to show you an explainer text, why we would use this and exactly what kind of input we would expect. So whenever we do generate Google spreadsheets, keep in mind the spreadsheet is generated by the user who is installing this script. If you want to make sure there's access to other people on your team, you will have to put in the Google accounts of those people. So Frederick@optmyzr.com, that happens to not only be my email, but also my Google account. So that's what I would put in here. And then I could do comma separated or whatever the format is. So in this case, it is comma separated, but so I could put in the list of multiple people. If I also wanted to get a notification whenever this script had run and completed a new spreadsheet, I would put a separate email address in there. So very simple to do this. And then at the end of this, you just say save settings. And we go to this page, okay? So now demo by Fred is in here. If I wanted to remind myself what I put in, I can just click on any of these and I can see what the settings are. And then the next step in terms of installing this is to download the script. Now, if you haven't installed this, we would actually show you a pop-up at this point that says, hey, you got to go and install this. If you don't get that pop-up because you've already been running the script, you can still download it from here. Now, I have to choose, do I want to download this for a single account or an MCC account? If you're going to run this methodology across multiple accounts through Optmyzr, then just grab the MCC code. The MCC code you would put into your MCC ads account. Here I'm going to download the single account script. Okay, so then it gives me a little pop-up warning. You can't see this, but it reminds you you only have to install it once. Hopefully you can see this in my browser, but it's done a download right there at the bottom. So I am going to grab this. So I grab this basically by opening the text file. Then I can copy and paste whatever's in that text file. That is the portion that you cannot see, but I'm going to hop over to AdWords. And I promise I did copy and paste it, and you will see it in just a second. Okay, so but I've hopped over into my AdWords account, and then I have to go into my tool section and go over to wherever they put scripts these days. So right there. Actually, I don't know how many of you use the fast keyboard shortcuts, but I like to just type in on my keyboard GT SCR, and so it's fast navigation towards scripts or even doing a new script. But here, I'm just going to go into scripts. It would actually be faster if you went directly into new scripts. It would set up a new script, but I'm going to show you what would happen if you just went to the scripts page first of all. Okay, so you get to this page, and then you can just say, well, I got a new script. I got it from Optmyzr, so let me click that blue button to add a new one in here. This is going to take a second to load up, but then I will be able to copy and paste that code that I had generated in that text file from Optmyzr, right? So remember, I downloaded that file, I opened it up, and I literally just copied what was in that text file. I did not make any changes, and now I've pasted it. So this is a bunch of JavaScript code. Now, the nice thing here is you don't have to change this at all. You just paste this in. This is going to work. Do keep in mind, again, this you have to get the right one, right? So this is the single account version that I've grabbed. If I wanted to do it through the, if I wanted to grab the MCC version of the code, then I would have to put it into my MCC account. And now I actually can't remember which one I downloaded, so just to be safe, I'm going to do it again. So I'm going to grab this one, copy the text, go back to AdWords, going to delete this and paste it in. Okay, so now the next thing you have to do is you should preview it. It has this message about authorization. I generally skip that initially. I do the preview because that forces Google to know exactly what the script is trying to do, and then I authorize it. If you authorized it first and then you previewed it, oftentimes you have to then do another second level of authorization, which is a little bit annoying. So here, let me share a different screen. So Google is now asking me right here, which account should we authorize this through? So I've selected my Optmyzr account, and then it tells me that this script will want to do a few things on my behalf. So make sure you're okay with these things. So the script will send emails, it will connect to an external service, et cetera, et cetera. So these are the permissions we are asking for. We're going to allow that. So Google is going to take a second to think about it. So then we go back to our main screen right here. Okay, so now the authorization message is gone. I'm ready to run this. Let's give this a name as well so that we remember what it actually does. Add template script from Optmyzr. Okay, so now I want to preview this. So you could just run it, but you probably want to preview it just to make sure you get no error messages, just make sure you didn't do any incorrect settings on the Optmyzr site. So here it's showing you changes. Now, remember, this is a reporting script. So all it's doing is it's generating a Google spreadsheet with the output that we've asked for. Some scripts, like the broken URL finder, you could set it to pause anything that has a broken URL. So if we were pausing ads or keywords, here you would see a running changelog that says, this is what we would have paused. Remember, this is the preview, so it's only showing you what would have happened if you actually ran this. So this is really important to understand what it's doing, because these things sometimes do make changes to your account. Also a good point, if you run a script from someone you don't trust quite as much as Optmyzr, you definitely look at this, because these scripts could do a lot of things. They could email your whole account to somebody else. They could pause your whole account. They could really mess with your account, right? So make sure you're looking at those logs and you understand what they're doing. Okay, so meanwhile, the preview, I believe, may be done here. So in the logging section, we would also be able to see if there were any errors. So this is looking good. It doesn't look like any errors came out. So no changes, and this is all done. Okay, so at this point, we could say we're happy with this, but what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go back into Optmyzr. In Optmyzr now, if you go to the logging section, you can see today being the 25th, 9 o'clock in the morning, that we've just generated the results for this one, and we have a link to the report. So if I click on that, you can see right there what that report generates. So let's give this a second here. So we still have one legacy ad that's running. You can see some of the stats behind that. Let's look at when we're using headline 1 across different portions of the account. So now you can see that we use different variations of the headline 1. And when we do use these variations, these are the stats associated with that. So this can be quite a useful report. And I put something like this generally on a weekly automation. So let me show you how I do the weekly automation. So back into AdWords here, I close out this script, so it's basically ready to go at this point, but now I want to make sure it runs by itself on a weekly basis. So this is the script I had just added. It's right here at the top. So what I want to do is under actions, I want to schedule this here under frequency. So I want to do this maybe once a week. And I want to do it Mondays before I'm starting my next day, and maybe let's do it at 7 a.m. so it's ready by the time I get into the office. I save that. Okay, so now this script is going to run once a week, Mondays between 7 and 8 a.m. If it's a script that checks broken landing pages, that checks for budget spent, then you probably want to use something more frequent, like hourly. So you have flexibility here over how often you run these scripts. So again, back to weekly, let's save it. And now I am done. So that's it. This script is installed in Optmyzr. It's going to run by itself. And what's going to happen next Monday between 7 and 8 o'clock in the morning, AdWords is going to run the script and it's going to say, hey, it looks like we're supposed to do something for the original test account for the ad template report, but I'm not sure exactly what to do. So at that point, it goes and talks to Optmyzr and it says, hey, Optmyzr, which settings are active? And we actually give it both of these settings. So we run with these settings at that point. We do the generation of the spreadsheet, so it's going to sit in my email inbox as well, or I can come to the logs right here and I'm going to have the latest version of that report ready to go. So, and by the way, so also do look for failures, right? So when we were testing the script earlier this year, we had put in some invalid emails, and so that generated errors. So it looks like the email X, obviously that's not a valid email address, so that was causing the script to break. So do periodically check in here to make sure everything's working as you intended it to. Okay, so that is the ad template report, and that's how you set up a script. So now let me show you a couple of other scripts that you can set up. But basically that's the gist of it, right? So if you just wanted to understand how do I set this up, at this point, you could leave us and get back to your days. What I'm going to show you is basically the same thing, but with a couple of the settings for a couple of the other popular scripts that we have. So the next one I wanted to show you was around budgets. So the flexible budgets probably being one of our more popular scripts. Let's go into that one. So we call it flexible budgets. Okay, so you can see we already have a bunch of settings, but I'm going to create a new setting from scratch. Or actually, let me show you how you would copy from another account first. So here we have it set up for these accounts, so you can choose from that dropdown. So likely I want to grab it from a different account, then it shows you for that account what settings do we have. We can then copy it over. At that point, when we copy it, it actually has all the settings already filled out. At the end of this, when I hit save, when I'm done, it is a new copy of its own settings. It's no longer connected to what I copied it from. You're not changing the thing you came from. It's just giving you a starting point to use the same sort of settings that you've used in the past and not have to fill out every single field from scratch, for example. So again, let's give this a name for a demo for webinar. Okay, we'll skip over the spreadsheet thing here for a second, but basically you could connect this to a spreadsheet. I'll show that to you in a second. So remember, we want to do an account level monthly budget. We want to spend around $250,000 on that one. Let's actually make that much smaller. Let's put it to 10,000. What date of the month do my months start? Typically that's 1, but if you want to start your budgets in the middle of the month, you can do that too. Go next. Okay, so this is actually interesting because now this is a multi-stage script setting. So if there are more settings, we sometimes break it up into different sections to keep things a little bit more organized. So here now we're asking, should we pause items? You don't know what that means? Well, okay, it explains items that have exceeded the maximum budget amount for the budget period can automatically be paused. If an account exceeds the cost, all active campaigns will be paused. So yes, I do want to pause my active campaigns if I'm exceeding my monthly budget. And I also want to re-enable it automatically at the beginning of the next budget period. And I would love to get an email when this happens so that I know that the script was actually doing this and I can go and look at it. What label should we automatically add to anything that we're pausing? This label is important too. You can change it, but once you add it, this is also the label that we use to figure out what to re-enable. So if you manually go and change these labels inside the ads account later on, it's conceivable that the automatic re-enabling will not happen. Okay, and then you have some advanced settings here. So we could say only check certain portions of the account, so only campaigns that maybe include the word brand or something to that effect. You can leave these blank as well. And then if you want to know like verbose debug data, so you want to see exactly what the script is doing, you can turn this on. It does slow down the script, so this is generally good to use in the beginning, but then turn off after you get really comfortable with what the script is doing. So I'm going to leave it on. You save settings, and again, because now we recognize the script hasn't been run, we invite you to download either the MCC or the single account code, just like I showed you before. Take it over into AdWords. This is important too, because this is a different script that I'm installing. The code is slightly different, and I do have to install it into AdWords. So I would go in here, make a new script, and I'd give it a name, and I would say this is my flexible budget script that I'm installing, right? So you do have to install the script once for each methodology that you do. Now, if I wanted to run this budget script across all of the accounts that I've got connected in Optmyzr, remember, the easiest way to do it is install the script one time in my AdWords MCC account. I install it once, and then I never have to do it again. Then if I wanted to run the same methodology for a different account, I would just go into that account. I would make a new setting for that, or I could copy a setting. At the end of that, I don't have to reinstall the code because it's already in the MCC account that covers this as well as the other account. So when that MCC code runs, it just says, hey, Optmyzr, tell me all of the accounts for which you have settings for the flexible budget thing. And then it gives back those settings, and it goes and does that in up to 50 accounts per hour. If you have more than 50 accounts, we'll do the first 50 the first hour, the next 50 the second hour. And when we get back to when we get to the end, that's when we'll loop back to the top the next hour. By the way, this is getting into the more complicated stuff. So if anyone has questions, please do put them into the chat box. I'm happy to, of course, answer anything that's up there. All right. Just taking a quick look here at the questions coming in. And actually somebody was asking, what is the advantage of using a script over the rule engine? So the rule engine generally, like I said, we automate that up to once per day. The scripts, they can run once per hour. So it's generally used for things you want to automate more frequently. The rule engine is really powerful to do bid management, for example. But we don't really generally do bid management on an hourly basis. We could do it if you wanted to, so you can talk to us, but for most people, we do that up to once per day. Okay, so yeah, this is the budget script. So put in a few settings. And again, now the expected outcome from this one is that we check on an hourly basis. And so when we checked, this was way back when, so we haven't run the script in about a week, but we said, okay, the monthly cycle started as $1. We spent $594, and that did not exceed the maximum, so we didn't do anything. But at least you know that we checked, and the account cost was below the target, so the script worked correctly and did what it was supposed to do. Okay, that's how that works. Now, many of you manage multiple accounts, and you can imagine this becomes a little bit painful when on a monthly basis, your clients tell you, here's the new budgets we have, so now you have to go into 50 different places to update those budget settings. So how can you do it faster? Okay, so while we have a spreadsheet capability, I've already set this up for one account here. So we have a Google spreadsheet. And in that Google spreadsheet, we have, it's a spreadsheet you can download from us actually. So we give you the template. But what you do in that spreadsheet is you set it up once. You put in what is the account ID, what is the budget amount, what is your budget period. And by the way, so these budget periods, you don't have to know exactly how to do this. The spreadsheet comes with a bunch of drop-downs. So you just pick the right value from this. The type of budget we're doing, again, pick from the drop-down. If you're kind of confused about what to put in, hover over these fields. It will show you a little bit of help text that explains exactly what we're looking for. And then you grab the URL from that Google spreadsheet. So literally grab the whole thing. Don't cut anything out of it. Just copy and paste the whole thing. Come back to Optmyzr, paste it into the spreadsheet URL box. Tell us the name of the tab that you're using for the settings. So the tab name, that's this thing right here. So we call it settings. So make sure you call it settings right here. And then what that's going to do is it's going to grab the majority of the settings, or whatever settings are on the spreadsheet will come off of the spreadsheet. Anything we still ask you on this page, that means these things are not defined on the spreadsheet. So whether we pause and re-enable, you don't put that on the spreadsheet. So you still have to put those indicators in these fields right here. So it's going to work in conjunction with the data on the spreadsheet. It's not putting everything in the spreadsheet, and that's important. But so you go through this, you answer any of the remaining questions, you save the settings, and then we're done, right? So now if if this setting is enabled, so by the way we enable and disable is just simply like that. So we enable, so now it says it's active. If we wanted to pause that setting, we can just pause it like that. But now it would be reading the settings off of the spreadsheet. So and that's nice, because now if you manage 50 accounts, well, imagine you've just put your list of 50 accounts all on this page. When the monthly budgets change, all you got to do to make it work correctly is come in, type in the new values, and you're done. Because the next hour, the script automatically runs in AdWords. It automatically talks to Optmyzr. Optmyzr says, well, we got the spreadsheet we got to look at. What's the value? It's $20. Boom, it sends that into the sheet, the script, and then it runs with that setting. So it's a really fast way to run scripts across many accounts. Okay, let me go back to questions here for just a second, and then we'll take a look at the creating ads from spreadsheet. Yeah, so there's a question. If you put the script at the MCC level, but some of the accounts you don't want to run this methodology for, is that going to be okay? That's a great question. So yes, that is okay. So the way that it works, let me see the easiest way to illustrate this. So let me go into one script like flexible. So okay, hang on. So I'm looking here at all the settings that I have for all of my different accounts, and I'm now going to grab just one methodology. So check destination URLs. Okay, so this is what happens. So if you've got the script installed at the MCC level in Google Ads, here's what we look at. We say which accounts within Optmyzr actually have settings for that particular check destination URL script. So these 5 accounts for which we have settings, those are the ones that we're actually going to run for. Now we have lots more accounts connected in Optmyzr here, but those that don't have settings, we'll just skip because we know there's nothing to do. So it's really still good to put the script at the MCC level, because then next month you have another client who you want to do this for. Well, you just create a setting for them, and Optmyzr automatically says, oh yeah, now there's a 6th account that we need to do it for, and it'll just handle it. So I hope that makes sense, Jackie. A question from Cam about, is there a benefit of scripts in terms of cross-referencing the data for insights? So yes, there is actually a benefit there, Cam. So scripts could pull data So say in this scenario, right? So we've run check destination URLs across these 5 accounts. There is a capability in AdWords Scripts that enables you to take the output from all 5 of these accounts and combine that together. So there could be one final step that we do, which is send one master email that says these were the 5 accounts that we checked, and these were the 7 broken landing pages between these accounts. We don't actually do that. It is a capability of scripts. So if that's something you're looking for, you're willing to start doing a little bit of programming, that is possible. So that is a benefit of scripts. Optmyzr doesn't specifically handle that because we've kind of taken a different approach here as far as how you manage multiple accounts. But like with the ad template report, that would be actually a cool example, maybe something I should do. But you could say, yeah, we're not just aggregating data from one account, but we're actually aggregating it from multiple accounts, right? So if you have a multi-account setup for the same company, that would work. Another question. So Jose asking for the monthly target budget. If I set up a $1,500 budget, will it increase or decrease the daily budget to help me spend the whole thing? Great question. So flexible budgets, no. Flexible budgets is all about pausing things when they've spent too much. If you're looking to increase budgets because maybe you didn't spend enough at some point during the month and you want to make up for that, we do that. So that is called reach target monthly spend. Now this is kind of the whole Optmyzr methodology, right? So we are a toolbox for experts. So in many cases, you're going to want to combine multiple tools, multiple scripts together. So we actually do run this script here. So this says for this particular budget name, we're trying to spend $100 for the month. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at how many days are left in the month, how much spend is left, and we're automatically going to increase the budget or decrease it to help us hit whatever the target is at the end of the month. In conjunction with this, I also run the flexible budget script so that if this script didn't do the job exactly right, it's still going to cap my spend at the end of the month for the whole account. Also, this is like more of a campaign level budget that you're managing, whereas flexible budgets typically used for the account level budget. So that's how the things kind of work together, right? You can certainly stack these scripts on top of each other. Another question, this one's from Nicholas. How can hourly script ad group budget be in conflict with AI ML such as smart bidding? Yeah, great question, right? So if you're using smart bidding from Google, then obviously make sure that you're not necessarily using the script that I showed you or that I pointed out about having hourly day parting bid adjustments, because Google would likely already be handling that for you. So you might be sending a bunch of settings to Google, but Google might actually ignore them because they're not compatible with smart bidding in some cases. Now, I guess the question here is a little bit about budgets, right? So if you're frequently changing budgets, do keep in mind at some level that does confuse Google. And Google has this promise, they're not going to spend more than roughly 30 times your daily budget over the course of a month, but that promise becomes reset every single time you change the budget. So if I'm changing my budget 10 times a day, then that guarantee of 30 times my daily budget is basically gone. So Google doesn't know what to do. You've changed the budget so often, so you could be on the hook for more money. That's why it's important to run something like flexible budgets, which will make sure if you've been doing that very active budget management, it stays on top of the whole, like what does it mean over the course of a month, and it'll actually stop it when it's spent too much. Right, so but it's a fair point. If you are having some things automated by Google, some of these things may kind of interfere with that a little bit. We do actually have a cool methodology. This is outside of scripts, but if you look at the rule engine that we have, the rule engine is a pro plan feature, but I can give anyone access for about 30 days if you want to. But the rule engine is able to change smart bidding targets. So if you have target CPA or target ROAS, we can help you modify that on a frequent basis based on your business insights. So say that you're going to have a sale next weekend, you want to change your target CPA because you know the conversion rate is really going to go up when you have that special offer for a couple of days. We can connect to your business data to the rule engine, and we can change that target that Google has. So and that's a way that Optmyzr does work well, really nicely together with some of the Google smart bidding methodology. Okay, do keep the questions coming if there are more, but for now I'm going to go back and finish up with a really powerful script, which is creating ads from a spreadsheet. Okay, so we're going to find it right here. So I'm going to load it up. But before I go too deep on that one, I want to show you kind of what we're trying to achieve. Okay, so say that you have a spreadsheet of data. So we're going to do an example here and say that you're a car dealership. And you have some inventory that you put in a spreadsheet. You're getting it from your dealer management system. Let me go to the campaign tab here. GC should get me there. Okay, great. So, okay, and there's a couple of different pieces to this, okay, but we have the dealership. The dealership has some car inventory that they have in a dealership management system. They've been able to put that into a Google spreadsheet. So here's a very short example of the data that they've got, okay? So they sell different makes and models from different years, different price points, some attributes of those cars. These are all used cars, stock numbers, maybe starting bid, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this data, how do we automatically turn that into a campaign in Google Ads? Okay, so the campaign, you might want to do something, have maybe one ad group for every combination of make and model, right? So we'll have one for BMW 325i, and then maybe we'll have one ad group for Toyota Corolla, even though we have two different Corollas that we're selling. So what I'm trying to achieve inside of AdWords is to come out with a structure that looks something like this. So this is my car dealership campaign, and you can see here I'm actually combining the year of the car with the make and the model. So for each combination of that, I've got my own ad group, and then within that I have keywords relevant to the specific kind of car this is. And if I look over at the ads, hopefully I'll have an ad that also looks somewhat relevant to that specific make and model and even that specific year. Okay, so we have these ads built out. So how do I automate that? How do I go from having a spreadsheet of this data to having a nicely structured campaign? So that's what the script is going to do. So this is called create ads from spreadsheet. Let me go into one that I've already set up. So I have to type a little bit less, but basically there's 5 steps here. So I called it automotive test. I took the link to that Google spreadsheet and I just copied and pasted it into here. And then here we're running it in preview mode, which means we're just gonna tell you what the changes are, but we can also go and make live changes. Okay, let's go to the next page. Now here's what we've done. In all of these template components, we give you whatever components were on the spreadsheet. Okay, so and I'm actually using a different spreadsheet here, but let me start from scratch. I promise it'll be real quick. So I'm going to grab the exact spreadsheet that I have here. So I'm going to copy and paste the URL. Going to give it a new name so I remember it. We're not going to run this in preview mode. Okay, so now it's actually going to look up at that Google spreadsheet, and it's pulling out the different attributes that we have. So color of the car, make, model, year, etc. So if you look back at the spreadsheet, these are all the attributes and they become available as insertion parameters. So now, you know, I do have to choose an existing campaign. So I do have to know in AdWords, what is it called? Right, so let me go and look at my campaign tab real quick. So I called it Car Dealers 1, so I'm going to copy over that name. That's what we're going to populate as far as campaign goes. Now the ad group name, this is where it becomes dynamic, right? So instead of doing the year and the make and the model, I just want to have different campaigns for make and model. So I hit these two. Notice how it inserts it. I do want to put a space in between here. The maximum CPC, well, you know, maybe I want to grab that off of the spreadsheet, so I could actually go and grab the starting CPC here. I'd have to fill it in manually for here. Let's just do $1.25. You can also put labels on stuff. You can use dynamic parameters. So param 1, I might want to associate to the price. Param 2, maybe to some like stock level. If I had something like that, I don't in this case. I'm going to leave it blank. We're allowed to modify existing ad groups. So if an ad group is no longer necessary, that means I can pause it. I can add keywords to it. So that's what these things here do. So this basically turns on inventory management. So that means if a car disappears from inventory, it will automatically go and pause the ad groups that are no longer necessary. Let me go next. Okay, so now I have to make ad templates. Okay, so here again, I'm just constructing from all of the data on my spreadsheet what I want the ad to say. So buy, where's the year? Buy a 2010 BMW 325i. So that's based off of these components. So hopefully you can sort of follow how I'm building that. You will then have to put in a default ad, which is a fallback in case that the dynamic insertion exceeds the character limits. And we'll do the same sort of thing for keywords, right? So for keywords, I might say I want to combine make plus model. And actually, I would love to have a broad match modified. So I'm going to put a plus in front of each of these components. Okay, and I'm going to do another copy of this. Where I only put the plus in front of the make. Okay, so I save all of that. At the end of the day, then it's the same as any of the other scripts I've showed you. So you download the piece of code, you run it into AdWords, and then when you generate the, when it goes through this, it basically figures out, well, what is the template? What are the pieces of information off of the Google spreadsheet? And it goes and actually builds out this campaign for you. So it builds one campaign at a time, but the ad groups, the ad texts, and the keywords within this are all dynamic based on the templates that we've specified here. So I haven't run it for car dealers once, so that's why this one is empty. Should have gone to car dealers too. But that's sort of the basic premise of the whole thing, right? So going from a spreadsheet of data to a fully defined campaign that's based on your inventory. This is recorded, so definitely, Ken, we will be sharing this with you at the end of the session, and you can share it with anyone else that you want. Francesco saying, this looks similar to DS inventory management for ads, but uses spreadsheets instead of Google merchant data. Yeah, that's a great point. So that's one difference. The other difference is this is part of your Optmyzr plan. This is not costing you thousands of dollars, right? So you can use this today. It's part of the scripting system. You all have access to this today, so you don't have to pay extra for it. And then, right, so this is not using the Google Merchant Center feed, but it's relatively straightforward to take the Google Merchant data, populate it into a Google spreadsheet, and then we can use that spreadsheet to do this off of your merchant data. I've seen examples where people have used this for location data, right? So we have plumbers running different promotions in different cities based on where they would like to get some more work. So you could literally have a spreadsheet that has the discount coupon value with the associated city, and you start automatically populating ad groups for each city, for each type of service you have, and the ad that shows has the correct coupon value for whatever promotion you're running that week. So there's many, many different ways that you can take your structured data and then automatically have this turn into a campaign like this. Now, if you do want something that's more advanced, has a couple more capabilities, so you might have this spreadsheet, right? So look at this. So maybe you add the stock level data to this. And by the way, if you update the spreadsheet, all you got to do is you got to go back into Optmyzr's enhanced script, add a new setting. So we'll create a setting. I'll put in that URL again. Oh, sorry, that was the wrong one. I had something else copied and pasted. So I hope this is the right one that I'm bringing in. But remember how I just put in stock level? Okay, so all I had to do was literally come back to this, and now stock level shows up as something I can dynamically insert. That's how easy it is. I literally make a change to this spreadsheet. It shows up in Optmyzr, and the next time the script runs, it'll pull from this and use that data as needed. But if you want to do something more advanced, right, say that you had 10 BMW 325s in stock and only 3 Toyota Corollas, well, we do have a new campaign builder tool. It is a separate tool. It's a separate subscription from Optmyzr, but we do have it available. But you could do things like say we only want to run ads if the stock level is at least 5. Okay, so then we would evaluate this field and we would say we're only going to make the ads for BMW 325i because it meets some of the conditions that we have. Or if you wanted to bring in margin data and you say, you know, this is a high margin product, this is a lower margin product, you could say I only want to run ads if I have at least 5 in stock at stock level and my margin equals high. Okay, so you can actually start to really filter down the data that you use to populate things. In the campaign builder tool that we have, you can also automatically generate campaigns. You can populate multiple campaigns. So here, remember, you have one campaign and you're basically modifying the ad groups based on some insertion parameters. But if you wanted to have a different campaign with a different budgets for BMWs and for Toyotas, our campaign builder tool can do that. So if that sounds interesting, definitely follow up. You can just send me an email to the support team and we can show that to you. It's called the campaign builder from Optmyzr. Another question that came in for stock levels, would you have someone just update the inventory levels once per day? So Jim, so the ideal scenario is that the Google spreadsheet itself is also automated. So we've been talking about AdWords Scripts today. There's actually this thing called Google App Script. So there's a script editor here inside of each Google spreadsheet. You all have access to that today. So excuse me, one thing I would do is I would automatically populate this. So you can put an automation in here that says, just look at my MySQL database or my dealership management system and import all of the data and put it in this format and do this once per hour, once per day. So this is then automatically being kept in sync with your underlying data. This is then automatically connected into AdWords, so the whole thing becomes automated. And that's why we like Google Spreadsheets, because there's a lot of automation that you can build on top of this yourself, or just, of course, hire someone to do a bit of consulting. Another question with the stock level, how do you update the ad without Google removing the stats? Yeah, good question. So that's why we support parameters in here. So not sure if everyone's familiar with param1 and param2, but these are basically used for numerical values to insert into the ad. So obviously the price of a specific car may change as you maybe don't sell it, so you're lowering the price, but you don't want to make a whole new ad for it. You just want to update the price component, or you just want to update what the stock level was. So, so the way that works is you say, I'm going to assign param1 price, param2 gets stock level. Now, when you go into the ads, the way that works is you would say, like in headline, I would say to figure out whatever the value is in param1. And remember, we had said param1 gets whatever the price is on the spreadsheet. So when I say in my ad template that we're using param1, it's basically inserting the price. Now, Google does require a fallback. So again, I'm just going to put in the price itself as the initial fallback. But that's it. So now in the correct text, you buy from, put a $sign in front of it. So buy from, and then whatever the price on the spreadsheet is, this would be kept in sync automatically as often as that script was running. So even if you were running the script and the only thing that was changing was the pricing value on here, right? So, your price became lowered to 20,000 in this case, the script would run and would say, we already have an ad for BMW 325i, but the price needs to be updated to 20,000. So param1 now gets the value 20,000. And then when Google renders the ad, it says, oh, we're supposed to grab whatever is in param1, and it says buy from 20,000. So that's how you deal with changing numbers without constantly changing, removing ads and losing history on them. Anyway, I'm really happy to see people have stuck around because we far exceeded the half hour that I was planning to do on this, but it's pretty powerful stuff we can do. And hopefully we've made it somewhat easier and more accessible through this enhanced scripting system. And then this create ads from Spreadsheet, definitely the most powerful one that we have. And like I said, it's part of the plan that you have. You don't have to pay extra for this. So if this makes sense for you, definitely give it a shot. If you need something a little bit more modern, that's something that we've actually just built. The campaign builder is available. It is much more similar to the DoubleClick solution, DoubleClick for search solution for inventory managed ads that they have. But the price points that you get from Optmyzr are far, far more affordable. So hopefully we make this type of cool technology available to everyone. So with that, I'll remind you, if you have any follow-up questions, support@optmyzr.com. More than welcome to put in my name and say, hey, I went to this webinar that Fred was hosting. Can we talk to him about this a little bit more? They'll help you set up a call so we can talk, but that's the best way to get in touch. So thanks for taking a look at scripts. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you on Optmyzr.